You are listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast,
where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women. Whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling,
or a long-term relationship.
I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. Welcome to another episode. Happy to be here talking to you and answering an email. I want to thank you guys. I've been getting quite a bit of emails with really great questions, and it's always so fun to be answering from people who are listening to the podcast. And then we get to dive in deep to some interesting stories of people who are going through actual situations, but then you're learning a ton because we're going over answers to their questions. So it's really cool. So thanks for emailing in. If you want to email in a question, just email me, trip@tripadvice.com. Of course, just so you know, I'm not going to be able to get to every single one of them, but the ones who do have really good questions and give a lot of detail, it really helps because it makes it so I can answer the question to a greater ability. You know, if it's just a very vague question of a situation that's going on, you don't give detail, I'm just going to have to fill in the blanks and kind of guess. But Mason, who emailed us here, has a great question with lots of detail, talking about sexual escalation. That's right, sexual escalation. So we're going to be talking about what it means to escalate sexually with the girl that you're with, and even talk about one of my main principles, TED, which stands for Tension, Entertainment, and Dominance, which I talk about in my book Magnetic, in my course called Hooked. Magnetic is available on Amazon through audiobook, through paperback, and also on Kindle. And Hooked is available at getherhooked.com. Both talk about TED. And it looks like our listener here, Mason, he got the audiobook version of Magnetic, which you're going to hear about in a second. And he went through it and he's trying to apply some of these principles in Magnetic to the sexual escalation process. And that's really cool. And it's actually something I should talk about more, but I don't. This idea of TED, it's a macro idea. It's a big idea, but it can be used in micro situations. So what I mean is tension, entertainment, and dominance is this whole process that you're consistently using in terms of building attraction with a woman, but it's not just used as an overall purpose from A to Z, but in these little sections. Right? So we're talking about when you first meet a girl, that initial interaction, you have tension, entertainment, and dominance. When you are on a first date, there's tension, entertainment, and dominance. When you are sexually escalating, as we're learning here, there's tension, entertainment, and dominance. So it's really applied to all situations. It's applied when you get into a relationship, even a marriage. There should always be tension, entertainment, and dominance. And all three of those really offer such an opportunity for the woman to be attracted and for you to have a great time as well. It's like you can't lose. Okay, so if you want like great detail on how to perform that, again, I suggest you get the book Magnetic on Amazon or my course Hooked at getherhooked.com. But either way, I will be going into a little bit of what it means in terms of how we're applying it to sexual escalation. Okay, so let's go over that right now by reading off Mason's question. And before we go into that, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know this is the time when I talk about coaching. That's right. If you want to learn how to apply tension, entertainment, and dominance, the TED principle to dating, and the book and the Hooked course is just not enough, but you want to learn how can you do it into your specific situation, well, I can coach you through that because I'm offering coaching. Go to coachedbytrip.com and I can have you fill out an application, which is right there on the website, coachedbytrip.com. And then I will review the application to see if you're a good fit for coaching. Coaching is for guys who are really struggling. And if you're not struggling that much, but you're just like, I don't even want to attempt this myself. I just want to get this done as fast as possible and get it done to certainty that you will be able to attract beautiful, high-quality women into your life and have a fun dating life. Well, then that's what coaching can be for. It can be used for that. So we get it done fast, we get it done right, and we can help you. And if you're over 18, then you already pre-qualify to apply. So if you're over 18, go to coachbytrip.com and apply for coaching today, and I can help you. I work with multiple guys throughout the week. I do many calls throughout the week, helping guys all over the United States, all over the world. So if you have access to WhatsApp, you have access to Skype, you have access to a telephone, then coaching is available to you, and you will be working with me personally, and I look at the applications personally. So it's helpful. All right, let's get into it. Mason says this. Bear with me. It's a little bit long, but I promise you're not going to want to pause it because it's pretty interesting. Hi, Trip. This one is loaded, but I hear you like detail. Hope you find the time to respond on your podcast. I'd like to start by saying I really appreciate the work you do. The emphasis you place on helping men develop their own inner qualities and strengths has applications far beyond just being good with women. While that is a nice bonus and ultimately the goal for most, I believe your advice and coaching is very powerful for many men in all areas of life. Thank you, Mason. Appreciate that. He goes on to say, I recently listened to the audiobook version of Magnetic, and the chapter on sexual escalation particularly piqued my interest. I'm 25. I've slept around a decent bit, 30 or so women. That's quite a bit for 25. Something I've run into several times is when things start to get hot and heavy, the woman I'm with will often say, fuck me. Or maybe we'll be dry humping and she reaches down to put me inside of her. This has happened to me at various stages during the escalation process. The thing is, I actually very much enjoy drawing out all the steps leading up to sex. Foreplay and oral are sometimes even more enjoyable to me than the actual intercourse. First, I'd like your opinion on why a woman would rush to intercourse. I've had this discussion with both men and women and think it's probably one of two things. I could just be god-awful at foreplay and oral, though I've seen no evidence personally that this is the case. I understand why a woman would want that part of the encounter to be over if I was bad. It could also be that women I've been with are often super horny and just ready for it. Now, I have so much to say already, but let's just keep going. Just a couple more paragraphs here. He says, I understand that as the man, I am in ultimate control of how this sort of interaction progresses. Since listening to Magnetic, I've been thinking about how TED applies to this particular situation. All three elements, in fact. T, tension, obviously being practiced by continuing to stimulate her and making her wait until I'm ready to penetrate her. E, entertainment, because I personally very much enjoy the escalation process. Taking things slow and being able to visibly see her getting more hot and horny is very satisfying to me. Lastly, D, dominance, by being in control of how quickly and in what direction the interaction moves forward. If I've misinterpreted this all, please correct me. He goes on to say, so in addition to why you think a woman might rush to intercourse, I'd also like to know how you think applying the principles of TED may affect a sexual encounter in this particular case. Would it have a positive effect and make the encounter more enjoyable for both of us? Would it maybe have a negative effect and cause her to become impatient with the pace? I imagine it's more something a guy would have to play by ear given her physical and verbal cues. Do you have any advice on how to judge this sort of situation and whether or not continuing the escalation process would be the best idea? Keep up the good work, Mason. Mason, my man, great questions, lots of detail. I'm excited to be answering and digging into this. Okay, first of all, Mason has what I call a good problem, right? This is an easy one to work with. I know, Mason, I'm not being condescending. I'm not trying to be a dick to you. This is a great question, but it's so easy to fix. And I can give you lots of information here. I know a lot of guys are probably listening going, God, I wish I had that problem. He slept with 30 girls. I've slept with like 0 or 1. I haven't even had a lot of experiences. Well, here's the thing for the guys out there who are wanting to get to the point where Mason is and having this kind of issue, which, like I said, is kind of a good issue to have if you're, being able to sleep with the women that you want. So for those guys out there, don't worry, you're going to get here, and you should still listen to the rest of this episode because a lot of the principles we'll be talking about, TED, do apply in all areas, okay, of the courtship process. But just understand that you're going to get here eventually too, and this is still good to know. And in fact, it's good to know what women are thinking during this process as well. Okay, so listen up and don't pause and don't go away from the episode. It's going to be helpful for you. Okay, so here's the thing. It sounds like you're doing a good job. Whatever's happening, if the girl is saying, fuck me, or she is, trying to get you to have sex with her, you're saying that she will, and I quote, reaches down to put me inside of her. If that's happening, I highly doubt she's like, wow, this guy is so bad at oral and foreplay. I'm just going to skip it and go to the sex. I highly, highly doubt that. Okay. It sounds like you're doing a very good job. I've been in this situation too. Okay. Where you're going down on a girl and they're enjoying it so much that they're just like, I just want you. Like it's overwhelming. They just want you. And that's what's happening. They're like, let's just go. I don't even want to do this anymore. I want to have sex because you've done it. Whatever you're doing, it's working. You're turning them on. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. However, I know you're saying, well, Trip, I want to keep doing that. I like the escalation process. This is part of the entertainment for me. And you're saying that you like it sometimes even more. Well, here's the good news. This is where dominance comes in. Okay. So again, we're talking about TED, tension, entertainment, dominance. Dominance is about leading the interaction. You're the man, you're in charge, you're leading the interaction. So just because a woman says, fuck me, or I want you inside of me, or is legit taking your penis and putting it inside of her, that doesn't mean you have to do it. Guys have this idea that like the goal is sex, right? It's like everything is about sex. Everything is about if I get the penis in the vagina, oh my God, I did it, I win. Right? But no, that's not what it's about at all. That shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be consistent entertainment. Of course you want to have sex with her. Of course that is something you want to do. But I don't want that to be the end goal at all. If you're thinking about that too much, you probably won't even get there. You got to be entertaining yourself through the whole process. Just like Mason is, he's saying that he doesn't even want to do that. He wants to do foreplay and oral and all those things before he gets to a sexual encounter. But if you put in the mindset that that's the goal, so as soon as a woman says, let's do it, you're like, oh, okay, let's do it. No, you don't have to do that. Do what you want to do. Of course, if you want to have sex and she doesn't, let's not rape women, okay? Let's get consent and make sure she wants to do that. We're good guys here. But understand that you don't have to do it if you don't want to. So Mason, if you want to be able to get to a point where, you're just on the escalation process, then keep doing that. Do you think a woman is actually going to be upset when you say, well, you're not going to say these words. I'll give you some things to say, but you're not going to, if you say no to her, she's not going to be like, well, forget this guy. No, you're just going to be building it up even more and it's going to be even more intense. And even if you end up giving her an orgasm before you guys have sex, that's still something that's good. She's still going to want to have sex with you. Women will want to have consistent orgasms. That's different for, guys. Guys can, finish and kind of be done with it, for a while. But for a woman, she can have multiple and be consistently turned on. So what you should say to her is, no, I'm not done yet. Okay, so if you like to do oral and you like to do foreplay, you just look into her eyes, you give her a nice little smile, and you say, no, I'm not done yet. Okay, I don't care what she says. If she's like, no, she's begging you, like, no, I say, no, I'm not done yet. Relax. And you do it with a little bit of a smile. Say just like that. So she knows that you're in control. You're the one who's doing this. And by the way, this is going to be such a big turn on. You might be thinking, Trip, she's already turned on. She wants to have sex. Well, you turn her on even more. And then she gets to walk away from one of the best sexual experiences of her life. Think about it. This is already a great sexual experience because she's saying like, let's just have sex. I'm ready. Like I want to do it. But then you're 10xing this experience for her by saying, no, we're going to keep on building it up. And it's going to be even better. You can build it up even more. So that's one of my answers there is you can do what you want to do. You don't have to just rush into intercourse. Right? Now, you also asked, why would a woman rush into intercourse? And I kind of already answered that, right? It's just so turned on. So we answered that question. And then we're talking about how does TED apply in all of this? And you were pretty spot on. You said T is being practiced because you're continuing to stimulate her. Right. And here's where tension is built even more, is that you're not having sex with her, right? So you want to build tension so much, you do that by continuously turning her on by not having sex with her. Because she's like, oh my God, when is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? There's no rush. Boom, T, tension. E, entertainment. Yeah, you do what you want to do. Okay, now if you're a guy who's like, well, I just want to have sex. Well, there's a little bit of a give and take. Okay, I'm going to ask you to try to draw out a curiosity or interest in pleasing her because that is the way sex works with a woman. It takes a little more time. It's not always just like, boom, quick, penis and vagina. Okay, so try to Find a way to enjoy the process. What do you like? I mean, a lot of guys should like that, right? Like just moving slow, maybe eating her out, kissing her all over, taking off your clothes. Like the whole process should be enjoyable. I'd hope that part is enjoyable. You're not just like, no, that stuff sucks. I just want to put my penis in her vagina. Like take it slow. Try to enjoy it. Find where you can enjoy it like Mason has. Okay? And then D, dominance. Well, I already said, right? Being in control. Well, he says actually, being in control of how quickly and in what direction the interaction moves forward. So that's your problem, Mason, is you're not really using D. You're not using dominance because you're letting her finally take over. You're like, oh, the goal is sex, right? Or she wants it. Or maybe you're not even thinking the goal is sex. You're just thinking, well, let's just do whatever she wants to do. No, you're part of this too. It's not just about her. You're the one who's being in control. And so that's where dominance comes along. You will guide it. You will have sex when you want it. Of course, with consent. I'm assuming I hope you're understanding that when this is all for the example is if she is interested and she's saying like, oh yeah, I'm ready to have sex, right? It's nope, not yet. I'm not ready. And for those of you guys who are even in this situation where that's not happening, where you're thinking like, God, what is Mason doing that it's getting to the point where these girls are just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. Well, what you might not be doing is you might not be doing enough tea, not enough tension. You might be wanting to go down on her or finger her or be kissing her all over for a long time, for like the minimum 10 minutes. That's minimum, by the way. Be great for you to do it longer. You might not be building up the tension enough. Also, don't think that you should necessarily be getting to the point where a woman is saying, fuck me, or I'm ready. She might not do that because she might be a little bit shy. She might be in her head ready to have sex, but she's not really the type of woman to just say it. So you might need to be leading it. You need to, be turning her on for a while, touching her a lot, lots of foreplay, and then you getting consent and saying, do you want to have sex? Or saying, should I go get a condom? I talk about how to get consent, by the way, in Magnetic with specific examples and how to do it. But that's basically the idea. Lots of guys are always like, that's weird. You can just ask her to have sex, like, or get a condom. Like, isn't that weird? Doesn't that kill the vibe? No, it doesn't kill the vibe. It's fine. You guys are already probably, here's the thing. It can kill the vibe if she's not turned on. That's the whole thing. If she's not turned on, yeah, it's going to kill the vibe. If you're just sitting there on the couch having a glass of wine, you guys are talking, and all of a sudden you go, do you want to have sex? She's not in that mode. So it's like you got to put her in the mode, get her turned on first, doing the foreplay, the oral, all those things. Get her turned on in that mode. And then once you do it, then ask her, she's going to be like, yes. And also happy that you asked. Okay. So it's not going to kill the mood. It's not going to kill it at all. Don't be afraid. Okay. Do it. But just do it at the right time when she's already turned on. Again, I talk about this more in the book. But yeah, I hope that answers all your questions, Mason. I feel like we really dug in pretty deep here in terms of sexual escalation. But, that's how you do it. That's how you sexually escalate. And so if you want kind of like an overall quick view of like how it all works, it's all about first, you guys are together. You go for the kiss. You guys are kissing for a while. Really extend the whole process. Then you guys can start taking off clothes. Then you can start touching each other with your hands. Then you can start kissing her all over. Then you guys can be naked. Then you can be either stimulating her with your finger or your mouth on her vagina, and then move all that eventually to sex with consent. So that's just the whole kind of process of what it looks like. It's funny, some guys are probably like, duh, but a lot of guys listening don't necessarily know that. It takes a while to understand that. But what's really most important that guys don't understand is you want to go through that process and you want to take that step 1, step 2, step 3, because that's what builds the tension. And the more tension a woman feels, the more she's going to be turned on, the more she's going to want to have sex, because women are turned on in a different way than men. I hope that makes sense. Mason, great question. We haven't talked about this topic for a while. I hope those listening really learned something here, maybe took some notes. I'm doing more podcasts. We're not stopping. The How to Talk to Girls podcast just continues. So keep on tuning in. Don't forget, you can get Magnetic on Amazon. Just go to Amazon, type in Magnetic Trip, or you can go on the show notes and grab a link there. You can get my course Hooked, at getherhooked.com. And of course, coaching is available to you as well, coachedbytrip.com, where I can coach you through the whole process of meeting and attracting women in your town. So lots of options available to you, starting with the podcast. And I hope to speak to you on the next episode. Look out for it in iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and SoundCloud. There you go. Talk to you soon.